again, we're back with some more FF Rando Marathon good times. We're about to start the Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide run, but before that, we got one more donation in from Carter Ferris saying, "Sniping the $1,500. Let's get to 6." You know what? I agree. Let's get to 6. Sounds like a good round donation number, 6,000. I think we can do it for the night's over with, especially if you want to put it towards some donation or incentives. We have the Save Don't Save Sid, which you've got about 30 minutes or so to get your donations in before we have to cut that off for this run. But there are still open incentives for the Hollow Knight randomizer run that's coming up after this, which is going to be a fun times. We have a father-son co-op run of that tonight, which is going to be really awesome. So if you'd like to donate, we're actually $399 shy of our all-time marathon, like highest marathon raised, the something words. But if we could beat that, that would be super fantastic. If not, thank you so much to everyone who's donated already. The Burn Children's Fund is a fantastic charity that helps a lot of really deserving kids in South Carolina. So we appreciate you. We appreciate you watching. And with all that said, I'm going to kick it over to the Worlds Collide crew and get them started.
All right, thank you so much, Danny. It is time for Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide, the open world Final Fantasy VI, or as some of you might know it, Final Fantasy III in the North American region. And essentially, what the goal of the game is, as you see over here on the screen, is to unlock and defeat the final boss of the game, Kefka, where we have to do a set of 4 things. We have to get to 9 characters, we have to find 6 characters, find 9 espers. Thanks to your donation incentive, we are going to be performing in the opera. And the bid war that we just mentioned, we either need to save Sid or let Sid die. We're going to cut that off about half an hour, 35 minutes into the run. So please do us a favor. Donate throughout the run in order to see that number go up and down. I'm joined in the co-commentary booth by Dwyer. Dwyer, how are you doing tonight? And what are you looking forward to with this race?
I am doing fantastic, and I am so excited to be here. So one of the things I'm most looking forward to is that auto berserk. I have a feeling that that's going to be a fun thing to watch.
Yeah, so basically what that means is thanks to your donation incentives, our runners basically put their controller down when they go into battle, essentially. Unless, of course, they find a relic to mitigate the berserk. It will give you some extra battle power on your fight command, but it means you can't control your characters. So we'll see if any of our runners craft their sort of routing or their builds based on that particular thing. We also have a bunch of other different options that are sort of not as standard as per usual. We started off with our standard race flags, but we made some adjustments. Dwyer, they're over there on the right-hand side of the screen. You want to talk about a couple of them while I get the runners going here?
Absolutely. So we already mentioned the save and kill Sid in the opera performance and the auto berserk. Another thing, though, is they will get a free Illumina, which is the strongest sword in the game, if they do Terra's Leet River check. And of course, in the vanilla game, that's where you've split off in your paths and you're taking Bannon through the Leet River up to Narsh. So if they complete that, they'll get an Illumina. They will get sprint shoes, which we'll also mention a little further down, if they do 2 of 5 different quests. Now, the sprint shoes are going to be great because we have B-Dash, so super speedy runners as soon as they get that. Also, our character stats are 50 to 100% and max enemy scale level is 60. Equipment pool is 100% equipable items. Chests are 5%. Our monster in box fights. And the Coliseum is all item trades are visible, which is different from our usual Ultros League. And we have kicked off.
Yeah, let's please stand at attention for the the opera here. Actually, I think you're supposed to sit down in an opera, right? Isn't that how it usually goes? So this cutscene's about 4.5 minutes long, but thanks to your donation incentives, we'll get to hear out a little bit of this anyway. I hear like some penny whistle soloing going on, and I'm here for it. So yeah, let's talk about what gets randomized in a Final Fantasy VI randomizer anyway. As you probably have seen already, every item in shops are randomized, chests are randomized, the abilities our characters have are randomized. We have Capture with Setzer instead of the normal, and there we see Realm with Health, which is one of Banon's temporary abilities. So not only do you get normal, quote-unquote normal abilities, but the abilities of the temporary characters you're able to get in Worlds Collide. The bosses are shuffled amongst themselves here, so we won't see repeat bosses, and the dragons are shuffled amongst themselves, so they might not be in their vanilla spot, but we won't see any repeats there for any bosses. We do have this concept called character gating as far as where you can get the rewards from. So Dwyer, can you take us through a little bit about that, and with the characters that we have now with Realm, how does that affect where we can go to get our characters or espers or items?
Absolutely. So, character gating means that there are some checks in the game that you can only get to if you have that character that pertains to it. A good example would be the Yeti going up to his cave that would normally be vanilla. That is considered a Yeti check because you can only get there if you have Yeti found. Not necessarily in your party, but found. So that would be Yeti's check. We also have Setzer. We have the Culling Gin, which is a free check, meaning we don't have to do a boss for it. We have Daryl's Tomb, and we have Search the Skies, which in the vanilla game is the Doomgaze spot. You will automatically be taken to there, so you don't have to hunt for it. With Realm, we have Owzer's Mansion in World of Ruin Jador, and we also have the Esper Cave on the Magic Island near Thamasa, where you see the goddess statues for the first time in the vanilla game.
Perfect. So I think we have a couple of donations that came in. Am I correct, Danny?
Sorry, I was reading something about a donation and completely missed what you said. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I think we have some new donations maybe that we have to read, looking at this list here.
You might be right about that. One sec. Well, the good news is the reason why I got distracted was I had just gotten another message from Ross from the Burn Children's Fund, who had just seen that we had broke $500 and is very excited.
Awesome.
Yes, you are correct. So we have $50 from J Brun TR. I probably butchered that, and I apologize. $50. It says here's a donation to not save Sid, because that one time when my brother and I first played vanilla, it took 3 hours to get past that plot point because we didn't realize how the fish worked. I mean, I think that sounds like a reasonable reason for that donation. And we have $10 from Drinks Glue. It says Umura is the greatest character in the history of video games.
Well, we'll have to agree to disagree on that one, Drinks Glue.
I was going to say, I remember the run the other day. A lot of people didn't seem too happy they had to start with him. So I'm going to say maybe not everyone shares that opinion.
Well, it was one of the caveats of the flag set. So essentially, when I presented the marathon opportunity to these runners, what I told them was, hey, everybody gets to change 2 flags and gets to add 1 objective. It kind of mimics this thing that we do in Worlds Collide called the Living Seed, where we change it and alter it sort of over time. But what we're seeing from both Taco Mage and One Free Fits are they are doing some of their quests in order to get those sprint shoes. So what Taco Mage is doing is he's talking to the fine citizens of Zozo who never lie, always tell the truth, in order to figure out what time to set the Zozo clock. In vanilla, it's 6:10:50. In Worlds Collide, we've randomized the time, so you must go ahead and talk to the townspeople, and by process of elimination, you can get the hours, minutes, and seconds based off of it. One Free Fits, on the other hand, is trying to buy something at the auction. So the auction house it has 4 items that are for sale in the World of Ruin, and once you buy one of those items, they come out of the pool. So Fitz is hoping to snag one of those items in order to fulfill that quest there. So those are 2 of the 5. The other ones include things like suplexing the train. So that's always a fan favorite. If we find a character with Blitz and if we find the Phantom train, that's going to happen pretty much regardless, but that's another fun one. Another one is to help the injured lad in Mobliz, where you have to send him letters and other fun things. I think a record and a tonic and things like that. And then the last quest that we might have is to pass the security checkpoint, which is where Taco Mage is going now in the World of Balanced Narsh that you may remember from the vanilla game as well. So one of the fun things I love about Worlds Collide is that we do incorporate some of these elements from the vanilla game into it, even if they're not directly contributing to a reward for a particular character or a particular run. You can customize it in so many fun ways, so that's one of the things I love about this game.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. We talk about standard Ultros League flags, but there are people that run Living Seed where it changes every week. People get to pick a different flag every week. We have Chaos, which is totally randomizes a lot of the unlocks and everything like that. And then, of course, we have True Chaos, which randomizes everything and is quite a ride. And Taco Mage has their sprint shoes.
Yeah, so that Yeti is now booking it across the screen. It's basically twice as fast as normal speed here. So that will certainly help out the looting and shopping phase of the seed. Normally the first 10 to 15 minutes, we just are looking in some treasure chests, looking in some shops, because remember they are randomized and we have to figure out what the seed is giving us. We also give our runners 3 Moogle charms, 1 for each party in Kefka's Tower, and that's used to avoid those pesky random encounters. You can leave it on if you don't want to take them, or you can take it off if you'd like to gain some levels and some other things like that.
So while we're watching 2 of our runners do the opera, and it looks like Taco Mage is doing some of their looting, Schwantz, where would you go next? What would your plan of action be?
Yeah, so I think finding or having Setzer, we do have access to what's called a free check, so it's a potential reward that you don't have to fight any battles for, and that's where one of our runners found Realm. I believe that was Drinks Glue. Yes, Drinks Glue found Realm there, so that opens up some more checks. But if it was just Setzer and Umaro, it would be rather interesting because we don't have a lot of checks for those 2 characters. Setzer, as you mentioned, has 3 checks: the Inn, Daryl's Tomb, and Search the Skies. Search the Skies doesn't grant you a character, so that means that it's only Daryl's Tomb or Umaro's Cave, besides the Inn, that you can get a character at, or you can get one at a non-character gated check, and the only one in the game that grants a character is the Kefka Narsh battle. So I would be hedging on either Daryl's Tomb or Yeti Cave if we didn't find Realm. But now that we've got Realm, Owzer's Mansion, I think, is my ideal go-to. There are several encounters that you must take in order to get to the boss position, and you can pull down on several different treasure chests for some grind fights before the boss if you'd like some more levels.
Absolutely. And you actually bring up another good point about checks is what the rewards can be. You mentioned that there is characters, there are espers, but there are also what we call dead checks where you get a high tier item. Some checks in the game can only give you espers or items, or can only give you characters or items, or can only give you an item, or a combination of those 3 things.
So yeah, we have the official cover version of the opera song here being played on stream. Gotta love it.
I am all for it.
That's Barber, one of our volunteers and people here at our Discord, who recorded that for us just a bit ago.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining in on the fun. Love it. I would try and play it on guitar, but I'm pretty terrible at that. So let's just leave it to the voice here for the time being. There is a lengthy discussion in the Discord right now about saving or killing Sid. Can you give us an update on where we're at in that potential bid war we've got going on?
If I've got this correct, it looks like this is updated. What I have right now is 255 for save and 230 for don't save.
All right, so put your cash where you think your justice is, or your vote, and we've got about 20-25 minutes before we decide to cut that off here. Taco Mage looks like they are looting in the basement of South Figaro. This is a pretty standard area because there are so many treasure chests here. Hopefully they're better than those two empty ones that we saw. And it looks like Fitz is going to go and save his injured lad here. So this probably takes 2.5 to 2 minutes 45 seconds to do, between all the letter reading and the buying of stamps and things. Stamps are pretty expensive, so we have to make sure that we have enough money for that before we actually get started here.
Absolutely. And it looks like Drink's Gloom might be climbing up the mountain to do a Yeti check.
Yeah, so you can peek what the reward is at Umaro's Cave in the World of Balance, Narsh. I know that our runners did go up and look. Of course, I was too busy being fascinated with the cover of the opera rendition to bother, because forget gameplay when somebody's playing an instrument, right? So I'm not sure if there's a character up there or not. And here are some level magics which don't give any XP, so we are going to run away from this fight immediately.
Quick update on the save, don't save totals. Save is at 255. Don't save is at 280.
Oh, no.
Oh, boy.
All right, so that $50 dono from Jay Brunter took it over. So don't save is currently in the lead. So if you have mercy on your Sid, or you just would like the runners to go faster, choose save. If you believe that Sid is a war criminal and should pay for his crimes, then you could fork over some money for the don't save there.
An
Absolutely.
exclamation donate will give you a way to do that in the chat.
And when our runners decide to actually do that, we can go over the mechanics of it, because I know that somebody said they had a rough time doing it in the vanilla game. We could explain it to you, but it involves math, so I don't know if you're going to tune out or not.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure my eyes would glaze over at that point. Oh, hey, we are getting a Coliseum check on glue screen.
Yeah, so the Coliseum is also randomized. The thing that you bet, the reward that you get, and the enemy that you fight is all random. So we give you a menu that shows you, hey, here's what you're going to receive, and here's what you need to bet in order to receive it, because it is randomized after all. You don't know exactly what you're going to get. You don't see what the enemy is, however, until you've already put up your bet. That's kind of evil. But also it makes it really fun. And with Umaro in the party, Dwyer, I think that this is a really good Coliseum build. Except when he gets lightning to death. Oh.
That's harsh. But Taco Mage gets his... Oh, that was so quick I didn't see what he was going for. But he won it. A Minerva. Oh, great. Minervas are nice because they will nullify Ice Bolt and Fire and half damage the other elements in the game, I believe.
Yeah, so it will also nullify Pearl. So it's 4 elements get zeroed out, and the other 4 you take less damage. It also gives you plus magic power stats, so it's really, really good piece of armor all around. And like you had mentioned earlier, 100% equipability means anybody can wear those Minervas. So that's really nice to have.
Absolutely. That gives us something we like to call Merton protection if it comes up, meaning that we can cast the spell Merton and it's not going to hurt us.
Well, unfortunately, our runners are going to have to cast spells in order to do that. And thankfully, because of your donation incentives, we have the Oops All Berserked setting on, where our characters will just punch things for a while, unless we find a peace ring, which I already see in Drink's Glue's inventory. The peace ring will nullify the effect of Berserk. Same thing with a ribbon. So those are a couple things I'd be looking for in a relic shop, just to maybe have 1 or 2 people that I could actually control in my party in order to not let things get out of hand so quickly.
Absolutely.
little Super Ball action there from one free fits. That'll be nice to get through a boss, although, again, you have to have control over your character in order to use the item menu. We do see some throwables in a shop there from Drinks Glue. So if we do find a character with throw, remember all of the commands are all randomized, and they won't be duplicated. They're called random unique. So each character will have a unique command.
Now, if I remember right, there are some commands that aren't in this, like shock. Is that correct?
So yeah, in this particular flag set, I believe we have excluded shock and we have excluded possess. Possess is just a ridiculously overpowered ability because the developers smartly said, well, the only thing that can use possess are the ghosts on the Phantom Train, so we don't have to bother coding a protection from that particular command unless the enemies are on the Phantom Train, and then who cares, because this is the only place you could use possess, right? In Worlds Collide, that's not necessarily the case. You could use possess outside of the Phantom Train, so you could basically one-shot any boss that you'd like in the entire game. So that's why we don't have possess on in most flags. It would make the run rather boring and silly to watch.
Oh no, and we have a wipe on Drinks Glue because of double Doom Dragons.
Yeah, those Doom Durgans are not going to be fun. Yeah, they'll give a ton of XP if you can get through them, but they will cast things like Fallen 1, which is oddly enough something that the last boss in the game casts to reduce your party to 1 HP, and then they have AoE attacks, so this is not a fun recipe. If we can get through it, though, this is really, really powerful. Now, Doom Dragons in the vanilla game are normally very tough, but here, we actually have a chance to beat them, and that's because of the way that scaling in Worlds Collide works. Do you want to sort of explain that concept a little bit, Dwyer?
Okay. So scaling for enemies and bosses, except for Final Kefka, I believe, is based on your progression. So it is characters plus espers plus dragons, and scaling is it at 2.5?
It's just at 2.
2. My apologies. So for each one of those things that the player has, the enemy levels and boss levels are times 2.
Yeah, so at the moment, since we have 3 characters, that means that our enemies are all level 6 about. We have a plus or minus 1 or 2 just to prevent our runners from cheesing fights with things like level 4 Flare and level 5 Doom. However, it's basically, you can get a rough estimate of how your enemies are. It's not location-based scaling like it is in some other RPG randomizers. It's based off of, in this case, progression. But you could also do things like time, where enemies will go up a certain amount of levels for each minute of in-game time. You could do it based off of the number of bosses and dragons you've killed. You could also do it based off of the level of your party, so that this way the enemies scale the same way that your party scales. So lots of different options you can do with Worlds Collide, and that's one of my favorite things about the game, is how customizable it can be.
I'm pretty sure you're going to hear us talk about that quite a bit during this, because it is one of the funnest parts of this game.
All right, so Taco Mage, I think, ran away from those Doom Durgans and is getting some better fights in here, but as we mentioned, whatever boss is at the end of this is going to be level 6, and we start at level 3. So it's usually a good idea to either take off the Moogle Charm or to go to a check or world event where we know there are going to be some encounters that you're forced to take in front of it, and Bowser's Mansion is one of those, so that's why it's a pretty good idea to come here. Drinks Glue, however, is in Daryl's tomb, and he took off the Moogle Charm to gain some more levels, and Fitz here is getting the rewards out of the Coliseum.
All right, so pretty soon we're going to get to see what the reward is for Bowser's Mansion. I'm sure Taco Mage is probably hoping for a character, just because all his characters are still berserked, so magic isn't really a thing right now. Who would you really like to see?
Oh boy. I think I would like to see someone that gives me a lot more checks, because right now Umaro has 1, Setzer has 3, although 2 can give characters, and Realm only has 2. So I would like to see like a Sabin or a Terra, someone that could open up the seed a bit more. But alas, that was a soldier sprite at the painting, so this is not going to be a character.
Yes, and so a lot of the checks are what we call peekable, meaning that you can kind of get a guess of what your reward is going to be based on the sprite. And if it's a character sprite, it's going to be that character. If it is a soldier, imp, ghost,
Merchant.
thank you, merchant. I knew there was one more in there. I couldn't think of it. It's going to either be an esper or an item. So the runners on some of these checks, like I said, that are peekable, they can make the decision of whether they want to keep going with that check or if they want to back out and do something else.
Yeah, so Rasopus and the Piranhas is the first boss here. In the vanilla game, or the vanilla speed run, you'll know runners will wait for an audio cue in order to figure out when to, make this boss appear. In Worlds Collide, it's actually randomized between 5 and 55 seconds until that boss pops up. But the majority of the time, it feels like 55 instead of 5. And I think we have Locke sleeps here at Daryl's tomb. So here's another character for Drinks Glue.
Absolutely. Now, Locke has some interesting checks. He has the weapon shop in World of Ruin Narsh, where you would normally get the Ragnarok Esper or sword in the vanilla game. In Worlds Collide, it can be either an Esper and an item or an item and an item. He's also got the tunnel armor spot in South Figaro Cave. Again, where you would branch off in the 3 paths, and he takes Celis to get out of Figaro. He also has Phoenix Cave, which is an interesting check because it makes you split your party into 2 parts.
Yeah, you also don't have to take any fights in Phoenix Cave, which makes it interesting. There is an optional dragon in there. However, it is a bit of a longer check because you do have to split up your party. It is a rather lengthy one. I did see Fitz he has a Valiant knife from somewhere. Maybe he got it from the Coliseum while we were blabbing on about Locke's checks here. So that's an interesting build for a Berserked character. We've seen Drinks Glue using a sniper on Yeti, and it looks like he's buying a couple of more here. Those will do a potential proc of up to 3 times damage on floating targets and 1.5 on non-floating targets, and it allows you to use the back row there. Oh my goodness, Boots and Horn in the same shop? Let's go.
Wow, I never get that lucky.
So here's everybody's favorite Final Fantasy VI jazz band, hiding in the Hide Knights in the Search Disguise spot. This is going to be a bit rough on a Berserk team because there are 5 different parts to this boss, but really the only one that you need to kill is the big guy in the back. And unfortunately, we did disable the undead property on bosses, so you can't just Phoenix down this guy and be on your merry way. Fitz is at the Opera House, so in the other world, the World of Ruin, there's a dragon on the stage, and thankfully he's got an ice rod for this red dragon, and that's going to make that go away real fast.
Absolutely, and dragons are really nice because not only do they give you a lot of experience, a lot of MP if you have Espers at the time, but they also give you a high tier item when you defeat it.
And that is an offering, so that is going to be huge for his Valiant Knife build. Holy cow, that's exactly what the doctor ordered.
Absolutely. Oh, you love to see it.
All right, so we're 25 minutes into the run, and I think we've surpassed another somewhat semi-milestone on our donations here. I'm seeing some round numbers on the end there.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I say, if you don't mind if I jump in, we had a couple donations come in.
Perfect.
Y'all are just really good on comms. I just it's hard to just jump in. Don't want to interrupt. So we got it's like, I'm coming in. Make way. No. So we had a $25 donation from Leno that says, put this towards the sus skin. Very sus. I should go to electrical. That's for the Hollow Knight run. And the last donation was for me at $11 just and says, because 5,600 sounds like a good number.
All right, so we do have about 10 minutes left until the save or don't save Sid cutoff. Right now, I believe don't save Sid is slightly ahead. So for those of you that have mercy in your souls and want to snipe that, you've got about 10 minutes left to do so. So make sure you fill out the comment of the donation indicating that you want to save Sid. If you really want to put Sid's fate home, then you could also donate to, not save Sid. And just make sure you let us know either way. As long as we're getting money, I guess it doesn't matter.
Yeah, don't save Sid is ahead by 25 points.
Ooh,
All right,
don't
perfect.
save. All right.
I believe that Taco Mage took a reset out of this Haydn fight because he did not have any good attacks to kill the Hyde Knights off. Meanwhile, One Free Fitz has that offering, like I mentioned, so he's able to kill multiple of the Hyde Knights at a time. And Drinks Glue there, going with the Ragnarok sword instead of the Shoat Esper. Very interesting choice, Dwyer.
Yes, that is interesting. Now, if he gets Terra, it is possible for him to get that second reward if he does the Welk Gate spot for Terra's checks. He can go back behind in the cave and get the second reward. So it's always an option, but if Terra never shows up, then he will not be able to get that. And it looks like it was an Esper for One Free Fitz from Haydn.
So we did have an 11 battle curse shield. I saw Drinks Glue go ahead and pick that up. Considering that we are rocking a Berserk team anyway, we don't get control over our character with the curse shield on, but we did find Minerva's lying around, I believe, so that will mitigate some of the bad effects of that curse shield, as in it absorbs twice as much damage, basically, as a normal armor would. So if you get hit with an AoE spell, your curse shield person is likely going to get hit. That is not a fight we want to do for Fitz. See you later in Tangier. Bye-bye now. Yeah, so scaling is based on characters plus espers plus dragons times 2. So the flags are your standard race flags with those changes that you see over there on the right side. Shout out to Lord Fizzlebeef, the Restream mastermind, for putting up my little graphics there. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. So that's essentially what we're working with here. As Taco Mage gets his 4th character, and One Free Fitz looks like they are blazing past Drinks Glue to head up the mountain. You really get to see the difference here between the B-dash and the just normal speed that we usually have.
Oh, and we have another dragon fight for Fitz. He is really wanting to get that XP and those items, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so dragons will also teach you a lot of spells, which I don't think we're going to use very much in this case, unless we're going to keep Realm as the person that's unberserked the whole time. But you do get high tier items, and when you do have a group of characters that are berserked, you're going to want those big beefy swords, or maybe that fixed ice, or maybe that valiant knife. So the dragons is a great way to ensure that you get one of those weapon drops here.
Okay, so Swans, you've mentioned the VK and the offering quite a bit. Do you want to kind of explain why those two go together so well?
Yeah, sure. So the offering is a relic that will allow you to use the fight command 4 times in a turn instead of just once. However, it will have the damage of each of your fight swings, right? So it's essentially like a 2x damage turn. However, with weapons like the fixed ice and the valiant knife, that having damage property pretty much gets ignored due to the way that the damage is calculated with those items. With the fixed dice, it is just whatever is on the dice roll face times one another, and then you add in a level there. With the valiant knife, it does the normal damage calculation, but then at the very end it says, well, how much HP are you missing versus how much HP do you normally have? That will be your damage at the end. It's just sort of a big multiplier on the end of the damage formula. So that's why the offering doesn't affect that weapon as much as it does the others. So it's very, very nice to have our 4 fights here. It looks like we also have a beefy boy, Funbaba, at the top of Tritalk here. And while we're slogging away on some bosses, do we have any updates on our saving or not saving for Sid?
Refresh our donation page. Go faster till the top. Oh. We have Anonymous donating $100. Save Sid, save the time, let him enjoy his hot dog costume.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that raincoat's hideous. That should be a crime for the fashion crime. So I think that means that Save has catapulted into the lead now, correct?
Yes, it has.
All right, so we got about 5 minutes left in order to get that cutoff. So get your voice heard. If you want to save Sid, we could pad that lead, or if you want to have Sid go away, then let it be known.
If I've got my numbers correct, save is now at 255. Don't save is at 280.
Nice. I always thought he looked like a banana.
It's like the Arrested Development guy. There's always money in the banana stand,
Well, there you go.
All right, so Taco Mage barely gets through that fight with Haydn and the Hyde Knights for the second time. Only Umara was left in order to get Golem, which is really nice for calmness protection. It looks like we do have a character here, the Yeti Cave, so let's see who is stomping down the stairs.
Oh, that is an old man Strago.
I never knew Strago has such a swagger in his walk there. So we will be getting yet another character here. For Drinks Glue, he's got a decision to make as to whether or not he would like to put Strago into his party ahead of any of the other characters he currently has. For Fitz, he'll be probably happy to see another character here. This will be his fourth character, so it'll round out his party at least.
I'd like to think that his walk is due to him probably having metal knee replacements.
It's got to be the mohawk. It makes him very aerodynamic.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, so that is Strago there for one free Fitz. So do you want to talk about the areas of the game that we can now access now that we have Strago?
Okay, with Strago, he comes with 3 checks as well. None of them are really favorites, but they can be rewarding. The first one is Burning House. Burning House in the vanilla game is whenever you first go to Thamasa and the kid starts the fire in the house, you have to go save Realm. That can be done in either World of Balance or World of Ruin in Worlds Collide. The second one is what we lovingly call RNG Cave, which is Ebbett's Rock, which is in the vanilla game you would find Haydn. And you basically have to find 22 pieces of coral, and the amounts in the chest are random, and the rooms that you go into are random, and then you have to feed them to a very annoying chest to get to the boss. The third one is probably the most lucrative, and that is Fanatic's Tower. Now, in the vanilla game, in Fanatic's Tower, you can only use magic, and that's the same in Worlds Collide as well. The ultimate reward for that is guaranteed an Esper or a character because it's such a long check. Along with that, you get a dragon in the middle, and then you get a high tier item at the top. Now, in order to fully complete the check, you have to go all the way through, fight the boss, and then come back down. But having 3 potential rewards for a check is amazing.
Yeah, completely agree, because part of the options that we sort of don't have on the screen here is that you could actually skip in the final dungeon to just the part where you do the boss gauntlet if you do 22 checks, or if you go over with 9 characters or 12 espers. So Fanatic's Tower goes a long way towards that check skip, as we like to call it here. And with this particular set of options in this party, the whole you can only use magic in Fanatic's Tower is not as big of a downfall as it normally is, because our characters are completely berserked anyway, which means that they can use the fight command inside of Fanatic's Tower, because they are going to be using fight on their berserk here. And Fitz is going to get past this Doom Dragon very easily. Thank you very much for casting Fallen One and powering up my Setzer to his maximum potential here.
Oh. Best time for Fallen One is whenever you have a VK offering.
Alright, so Taco Mage gets through with his second dragon here, and Drinks Glue has got a few poisoned characters, which is never any fun. But this is on the back half of this Haydn and the Haydn Knight fight, where he's only got 1 left. However, now that there are no Haydn Knights on the screen, Haydn can use his ultimate ability, and in vanilla, that is Grand Train. However, it gets scaled based on the level that Haydn is at here. So we may not see Grand Train. We see Stone instead, which arguably might be worse. Thankfully, it missed. Because that will confuse your characters, and what's worse than a Berserk character? A confused Berserk character.
Absolutely. You know, I actually did not know that that final move is randomized. I thought it was Grand Train the whole time.
Yeah,
I learn something new every day.
Yeah, it's scaled based on the one of the things that we sort of steer the least towards vanilla with is the ability scaling, where something like Flame Eater will normally cast Fire or Fire 2. If he's high enough level, he'll start throwing out higher end fire spells like Fire 3 or Tre Fuego, as it's affectionately known in the community, or things like Flare Star. Really powerful higher end fire spells. Or if you find him very early in the seed, he'll do lower or lesser fire magic like Elf Fire and Blaze instead of Fire 2. Right? So it's another way to adjust how powerful or strong or weak the bosses are based on what your scaling is. I think it's a really cool concept, but it does require you to have vanilla game knowledge of what the boss scripts are to know what elements you can expect from them. All right, so we are at 37 minutes. Do we have any additional donations for the Save and Kill Sid? Otherwise, I will let the runners know which one they need to do.
No more came in to kill Sid, so we're saving Sid.
All right, well, let's go ahead and let our runners know, and we can explain sort of how that works when they actually want to feel about doing that as we continue on. And oh boy, South Figaro Caves is our first look at a Magimaster here. Can you sort of explain this fight a little bit, Dwyer?
Oh, absolutely. So Magimaster is a little nasty. Each time you damage him, he is going to do a move called Wall Change, which means it changes his elemental weaknesses, absorptions, and nullifications. Now, in Worlds Collide, he is simplified because at the end, when you kill him, he will not Ultima you. That is a flag that we have turned off for most normal flag sets. Now, in this case, with a whole bunch of Berserk characters, they're going to be able to damage him pretty reliably. But if that was not the case, there are a few strategies that you can use for this. One is by berserking Magimaster, which means he won't be able to wall change. There are reflect strategies, or you can just use non-elemental damage or physical damage that ignores defense, like fixed dice or VK.
All right, so here we are going to see One Free Fits attempting to save Sid. So here's how the Sid thing works. He starts out with 120 HP, and he loses 1 HP per second. If you feed him Fast Fish, he will gain lots of HP back. If you feed him Slow Fish, he will lose even more HP. So that's sort of how this game mechanic works. We want to get the fast swimming fish, and once he gets up to about 255 HP, that's when you will get the Save Sid objective. If he obviously goes down to 0 HP, that is when you get the not save Sid objective here. So I think personally it's easier to save Sid because the faster fish are easier to catch than the slower fish. So it's, in my opinion, easier to save him than to let him die. But I know that there are some very opinionated dissertations about the fate of Sid. So thank you so much for putting that on blast here with your donations. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And this is normally one of the things that we wouldn't do in like our normal Ultras League runs. So being able to see saving or killing Sid is kind of a treat.
Yep, so if we didn't do anything, right, and we just stood around for 2 minutes, then Sid would die, obviously, because 120 seconds is 2 minutes. But ain't nobody got time for that. This is a speed run after all. So let's go ahead and feed him some good fish, and there we go. I feel much better. That is the message that you get when Sid has been saved. I'm not sure if Fitz do that, because Sid's going to be up and walking around now and not going straight back to bed. So he did it. Congratulations. It should be checked off of your objectives there, and there you go.
Wonderful. I'm glad to see the banana live, I suppose.
he gets to be ripened for another day. All right, so we did see a soldier sprite here at one of the checks. So this is the Realm Esper Mountain check. And Drinksglue did make it past that Magimaster fight. And unfortunately, the reward was only an Atma weapon. So he's got to be feeling pretty rough about that. Because when you do that sort of fight, you really want something nice afterwards.
Absolutely.
Oh, and we do have an Esper that teaches Berserk. Oh, it's even more salt in the wound there.
Yes. I don't remember where that one came from.
That was Palador, so it must be somewhat early on here, because Fitz only has, let's see, he only has 3 Espers, so that might have been at Tritalk, given what his tracker looks like. Okay, so we do have Inferno here at Esper Mountain. We can potentially do the steal, and you could steal an elemental shield from all 3 different parts of Inferno. So it's pretty nice to have somebody with capture. Unfortunately, Setzer was a bit unlucky with his steals there.
Absolutely, and Taco Mage is saving his Sid.
Perfect. So we're gonna feed him fish, and he'll be good to go. It's also important to note. Did you see something?
I saw an Ultima.
Uh-oh. Yeah,
boy.
Ultima is the most powerful spell in the game. It's so powerful, in fact, that we sort of nerfed it to where Ultima costs 254 MP instead of the standard 80 in our standard race flags, just because 80 makes it way too easy to just spam it over and over again, the big blue I win button. Whereas with 256, you at least have to be at a decent level to cast even once. And most of the time, you're not getting above 500 MP. So it makes you really think about, do I want to use this now? And if I want to use this over and over again, what's the way for me to do it going forward?
Absolutely. Oh, it looks like we're getting a Burning House play with glue. Burning House is really interesting because it has a lot of fixed fights with these flames that you can potentially kind of sneak past. And if he's got stray cats, so if he finds a rage user, that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, so in Worlds Collide, and there's Taco Mage saying no thanks to Magimaster right away. So how Rage works in Worlds Collide is you don't have to go into the Veldt and do the leap in order to get battles to find the different enemies that you would like to use for the Rage command. If you just fight one of the fights, then your user will automatically get that enemy added to their Rage list. So it's much more favorable than having to do all the vanilla nonsense to populate your Rage list. So if Drinksglue finds somebody with Rage, that would be very, very nice. All right, so Taco is going to pivot here to Esper Mountain, and he's going to be glad that he did. Like we mentioned, the Magimaster fight was unfortunately just a dead check, so we might not ever see him go back there. Let's give a little update on where we're at in terms of our runners. We have Drinksglue with 10 checks down, 5 characters, 3 Espers, 1 Dragon. We have Taco Mage with 8 checks down, 5, 4, and 1. And then we have one Free Fitz with 8 checks down, soon to be 9 after this year. He'll be at 5 characters and either 3 Espers or 4 Espers, depending upon what he picks out of here.
Oh, are we going to see... Oh, we're going to see Shote.
Yeah, so interestingly, Taco and Fitz both chose Shote, whereas Drinksglue chose the Ragnarok. I think that's just because he knew that he was going to have his lock be a Berserked character, and the Ragnarok is one of the best swords in the game.
Absolutely. Now, one of the things I don't think we mentioned, or if we did, I forgot because distractions. The Espers in Worlds Collide are also randomized, meaning their bonuses that they give, like stat bonuses, are randomized, and the spells that they teach are also randomized.
And the rates at which you learn spells are also randomized.
Thank you very much there.
Yeah, so we do it in our standard flags where the better spells you'll learn at a slower rate than others, but you can make it basically random, or you could make it so that it's a flat number, or you could shuffle them so that this way Ice 2 is at the rate that Ice 3 in the vanilla game is, whatever you want. Again, very customizable here. All right, so Fitz is going up Fanatic's Tower. Drinks Glue is in the Casa del Fuego, as we affectionately know it. So we got 2 out of 3 Strago checks here. I think we've exhausted a lot of options for our 6th character. What have we not seen yet, Dwyer?
We have not seen Kefka Narsh, have we?
We haven't seen Kefka Narsh. I don't think we've seen Phoenix Cave yet either, right?
Oh, nope.
Ooh, an offering in that chest with the... Wow! Offerings all over the seed here. You just got to go find them. Where else have we not seen?
I'm trying to think here. Yeah, I think you're right.
Oh, and Ebbett's Rock, too. The coral place.
Oh, yes.
All right, so hopefully we get something out of the Burning House, because we know, like you mentioned, Fanatic's Tower, you can see what the reward is at the bottom, and it's not a character here. So Fitz is doing this for the dragon, for the high tier item at the top, and then for an Esper there. And unfortunately, Umaro and Setzer hit the deck because they are a multiple of 5. And wow, that is a W win from Realm. That is a bold strategy there, Glue.
But I actually love it. You don't get to see that spell very often, and hey, with these fights, those things have a good chunk of HP. Sorry, that's a really interesting play, and I like it.
Yeah, you saw exactly how much damage that did to everybody. W-Win will raise your health to 1/16 of what it normally was, and I believe that's the first quad 9 of the seed there on that fixed dice roll from Locke. So Drinks Glue getting past this Marshall fight. We didn't even mention that we've randomized the 2 lackeys that Marshall comes with, because Lobos were a little bit too easy. Drinks Glue getting an Esper out of the Burning House, Taco Mage going into the Burning House, and then Fitz here going to fight whatever bosses is at the top. And we still do not have our 6th character yet.
Hey, I'm going to take a stab. I'm going to say Kefka Narsh. That's where I'm predicting.
All right, chat. Well, we know it either has to be Ebbett's Rock, Kefka Narsh, or Phoenix Cave. I think I'm going to go with... let's give us Gao at Phoenix Cave. Let's see if that's where our progression or the logic of the seed will take us. So,
can I just tell you that you're a terrible person?
Well, listen, you can't do the Velt check with a berserked party, right? So that automatically makes me a terrible person. But
well, not only that, but then we've had all of these different randomized fights that are going to show up on the Velt. You're a terrible person.
Oh yeah, that is pretty
Doom
rough.
Dragons.
Oof. Level magics, yeah, all the fun stuff. So how Worlds Collide works is there is a logical path through the seed by which you should be able to get all of the characters and all of the Espers. So you'll never run into a seed where you can't get all of them. So there is going to be a logic behind it. Drinks Glue is going through Ebbett's Rock here, which is a check we haven't seen. So basically what Dwight and I were doing is by process of elimination, since we know all of the checks with our omnipotent position here in the broadcast booth, we know that it's got to be one of those 3 spots, right? So hopefully for Glue's sake, it is Ebbett's Rock here.
Absolutely, because having to count out to 22 corals, you got to get a reward for that.
Yeah, and we see Fitz trying to zoom down Fanatic's Tower. This is the one spot in the game I don't like having B-Dash on for, because you bonk the wall so many times here.
Oh no!
Oh, Blue did not pass his math test. That is a triple kill from Doomgaze there. Only Umaro is left, and the annoying thing about Doomgaze is that he could just decide to point at you and go, nope, and just kill off the characters left and right. So we'll see if Drinks Glue gets past this. But first, there's Darude.
I mean, I kind of feel for Glue, because not only did he have to do the duelers with the level 5 Doom there, now he's having to deal with this.
And the Magimaster fight, yeah.
Yeah. Give some support to Glue. He's gonna need it.
And meanwhile, we've got an Impt character here, Setzer, who I believe just got stopped. So, and Locke is down, so it's Realm and Umaro against Marshall, and thankfully Taco Mage pulls through that fight. So in Worlds Collide, unfortunately, the characters that die in fights don't get any XP from the boss that you kill. So that sort of makes a problem when it comes to how the game kind of likes to snowball you, where you defeat one character and unfortunately there goes Yeti getting pointed at. Oh, that feels awful. So that is, go somewhere else, make sure your team is not level 5 and come back here later. F's in the chat for Drinks Glue. You hate to see it happen.
Absolutely.
Alright, so we got 2 runners going to peek Fnatic's tower and just walk right back out, I'm assuming. No, I was hoping for like a old man Simpson, at the bar, put his hat on the coat rack. kind of move there. That's what Taco Mage did. What are Taco Mage's levels? Oh no, I saw 25 in there at least once.
Oh no.
Yeah, so let's hope for Taco's sake that most of his party is 29 and not the 25 that I saw.
Well, unfortunately, we can't even rule out any of our character places since we still don't know what the reward is for Ebbets Rock.
Yeah, and Kefkat Norse is more likely than not either a last location or, wow, I don't want to do Phoenix Cave. Let's just really make sure, because it is, not that it's a peekable check, but if you walk all the way up there and if you don't see a character waiting for you by the snow, you can just reset and you're back down at the bottom again. Alright, so let's give a little update on where our runners are at. Drinks Glue 5 characters, 4 Espers. Taco Mage is at 5 and 5, and Fitz is also at 5 and 5. So still a pretty tight race, anybody's race. One of the things I do like about Worlds Collide most of the time is that it is one of those randomizers, since it's not key item based, or at least normally it's not. You can make it key item based if you want to with the objective system, which makes it really fun. But since it's not key item based, there's more than one way normally to get through a seed, unless it's very linear. The converse is, if the seed is very linear, then you get to see based on, RNG a little bit and based on skill, because everything else will be normal, because routing is not something you have to take into account. And only Setzer will hit the deck here for Taco Mage, so he at least has a fighting chance here against this Doomgaze fight, especially with, I believe those are Pearl Lances. So hopefully one of them will proc and then Doomgaze will fall apart.
Absolutely. And, even if you pass your math check, Doomgaze can still be a pretty scary fight occasionally.
Yeah, so even though Doomgaze looks like a skeleton, he's actually a very beefy boss in terms of HP. Because in Worlds Collide, we've disabled that runaway mechanic that is in the vanilla game where you fight Doomgaze over multiple fights. Instead, you fight all of his forms at once. So it leads you to have a lot of HP on Doomgaze. So it's a bit unfortunate, and he has very high physical defense too. So that's why you're seeing some of these numbers are pretty low compared to some of the other bosses here.
Absolutely, and one free Fitz is going to be going to South Figaro Cave to find his Magimaster, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, so he will at least have the Valiant Knife offering for this fight, so he might be able to get through it faster than Drinks Glue did, and definitely better than Taco Mage did. And Taco runs out of Evatrock, so this is a character, and it is Celeste! Wow, Knuckly Kong guessing it right on the nose there. You win some internet points, friend. Magitech for Celeste as well. Wow. We have a question in the chat from Lily Spikes, Magimaster Ultimate Cast, ? So, in Worlds Collide, since you are never guaranteed to have the Life 3 spell, we have disabled the Ultima death counter for Magimaster, just because otherwise it would make this boss impossible to beat. You can turn it back on if you want, but in most of the standard flags, you'll find that we've disabled the death counter of Ultima. Which, it sounds bad, but when you do turn that flag off, since we do have the elemental scaling sort of thing that we talked about earlier, Magimaster may not cast Ultima. It might be some other spell, but it's going to be a very powerful non-elemental spell and likely wipe the party. I think the only time I've ever not had a wipe with him with that flag turned off is when he's casted Fallen One, because you get to 1 HP instead of dead, or if he casts Meteo and you get lucky and you dodge 1 or 2 of them. So it's pretty gnarly.
So we just found Celes. Do you want to go through some of her checks?
Yeah, so Celeste has 5 different checks in total over 3 areas of the game. The first of which is in the South Figaro prisoner spot where you rescue her in the vanilla game. You don't have to do a fight for that one, so it's considered a free check. The second one is where we already were earlier in the seed at the Opera House. But this time, if you go up in the rafters, you do some Always Sunny in Philadelphia Charlie work, cleaning out the rats there, and then you fight whatever the boss is on the Opera House floor. And then is the Magitech Factory, which is a 3 reward area. So you get 3 rewards for completing the entire Magitech Factory. However, you could warp out after the first one or the first 2. But once you go into that Mode 7 goodness of the minecart ride, you're stuck in there until you finish. There are certain rewards that you can get from certain spots in the Magitech Factory, though. The first spot is Esper Item, the second spot is Esper Item, and the third spot, which is after several encounters and multiple bosses, is a guaranteed character or Esper. So if Taco Mage is feeling like, hey, I need to go to areas of the game where I know I'm going to get progression, he might want to go all the way through here because he's at 6 characters and 5 Espers right now, taking a look at his tracker. One Free Fits is at 5 and 6, and Drinks Glue is at 5 and 5. And we are seeing a Phoenix Cave dive from Fitz, so we will see if my prediction of Gao here is correct. Because remember, we still could find another character in here.
Absolutely. Now, I get the feeling that we are probably not going to see a Kefka at Narsh.
Yeah, I mean, unless Drinks Glue decides that he wants to go peek it before diving into Phoenix Cave. But he's going to get his Celeste here after this Doomgaze fight, right?
Yes. Yes, he is. Oh, that offering Atma putting in good work there, and Doomgaze is down.
Yeah, so one of the great things about the Atma weapon is it does ignore physical defense, and that really helps in a fight with Doomgaze, where he's got very high physical defense. Meanwhile, we have the Doma Siege leader here. That should not be a problem, and there it goes. We get to hear that sweet Magitech music, as one of our chatters pointed out here. Lots of great music in this game.
Absolutely.
All right, another Esper there for Taco Mage, and he gets the zoom over to the second spot here.
You know, that's interesting. I would like to point out that Drinks Glue does not have his sprint shoes.
Yeah, so he's leaving some time on the table from doing some of these checks. However, it does take time to do the quests in order to get the sprint shoes, right? So maybe he crunched the numbers, maybe he did the analytics, and he said, you know what? If it takes me 3 minutes to get sprint shoes, I'm not going to make up 3 minutes of time from walking around in the seed. I personally think I would save 3 minutes walking around to do a couple of those quests. So for me, I think it would be worth it. But for Glue, he's decided, you know what? I'm good. I'm just going to walk.
Oh, so we had a Pearl proc on Senior Behemoth there.
Oh, no.
Or SR Behemoth, as whatever you want to say that it stands for. Pearl and Flare procs make him very angry.
Yeah. Sriracha Behemoth no likey. So he will counter with some really bad moves. However, We're already on to phase 2 here, and this shouldn't be that big of a problem there for Taco Mage. Get this boss out of the way. Get a Behemoth suit out of it, which Realm can definitely use. Oh wait, there's 100% equipability. All of our characters could use, and that is 2 for 2 with Espers for Taco Mage. So he has a decision to make here. Does he warp out, or does he keep going? And it looks like he's warping out at 7 Espers, so he still needs 2 more to go.
Yes. One thing that we didn't point out in the Save Sid that we're doing on Drinks Glue, one of the... it's not really a glitch that's not allowed because it's not a glitch, but one of the things that isn't allowed is you're not allowed to leave the island. Once you start this, you have to complete it.
Yeah, I think we did make an update in the code to allow you to... the timer will get reset if you actually leave the island. Before
okay.
Yeah, so we did. So Worlds Collide, this is a great segue here. Thank you, Dwyer, setting it up. I'm knocking them down. So Worlds Collide is an actively being developed game. So it's open source, and if there's something that you'd like to add to the game or make it your own, code it up. We're asked to have it maybe be merged into the base game, and we'll vote on it to see if it works. Or you could always make your own little versions of Worlds Collide. I have plenty of my own crazy little mods that I have. Like, for instance, one of them is I have replaced some of the bosses with some of the hard random encounters in the game, like in Tangier and the Madam Outsiders, which are really hard. They're harder than most bosses, right? So that's another cool thing about Worlds Collide, is that we're still actively working on it and updating it. And I think we got another character. Yes, we got Cyan at the South Figaro prisoner spot. So that gives us some more checks for Taco Mage to go to.
Oh, and Cyan has some of the best checks in the game. If you don't mind, I'll go through them.
Yep, go right ahead. And unfortunately, my prediction in Phoenix Cave was wrong. However, we did get an Esper, so it wasn't all for naught for Fitz. But yeah, let's talk Cyan here.
Okay, so Cyan has... well, he has 3 checks, although one of them is a lot like the Magitech, where there's multiple parts to it. The first one is Doma's Siege. So after Kefka poisons the water in Doma and his leader and soldiers attacks Doma, Cyan comes out and takes them down. That's one of his checks. The second one is Mount Zozo. So in World of Ruin, Cyan has taken to being a hermit in the mountain, catfishing a girl, as I like to say. And so you can climb the mountain and find either an Esper character or an item where he's hiding out in Mount Zozo. The third check is Doma Dream, which is my personal favorite check of the game. So in the vanilla game, if you go sleep at Doma Castle with Cyan, you get to go into his head in a nightmare. In Worlds Collide, you just go to sleep. And the Dream will either reward you with a character or an Esper for being in the dream, but it will also reward you an Esper or an item for the first fight where you would fight the Dream Stooges. Then throughout while you're doing the dream, you'll see or get to peek whether it's a character or an Esper for the middle check. And then after the dream is over and you've completed the final boss fight there, you can go see what's on the throne, and it will either be an Esper or an item.
Yeah, 3 rewards, 2 bosses, very, very lucrative check. Although, like we had mentioned, Taco Mage at that point was at 7 characters and 7 Espers. So he doesn't really need 3 rewards, so it makes sense that he went for Doma Defense and for Mount Zozo here. There is an optional dragon on the way, but there is no fight that you have to fight. So if this is a shiny stone, then Taco Mage will be in go mode, folks. Meanwhile, Drinks Glue here is deciding to go through the rest of the Magitech factory. He has said, you know what? I'm going to take this all the way to the end. I want to show off some great Mode 7 goodness here. And we're going to go ahead and get a character or an Esper at the end of this.
Hey, back when this game came out, those graphics were hot.
Alright, so Celeste is the reward there for 1 free Fitz. I have a feeling that we were gated at Ebbets Rock the entire time, unless, of course, There was also a character at Kefka Narsh. One will never know. Actually, that's not true. I could download the seed right now and look it up, but I'm far too lazy to do that, and we've got some great action going on, so I don't want to take my eyes off of the prize here.
Absolutely. We have a Gold Gurgan down for Taco Mage. Gonna get his great pile of XP, NP, and high tier item.
And we'll see what the reward is here at the very end. Like I mentioned, if it's an Esper, he's got 7 characters to 9 Espers, so that is go mode for Taco Mage. And unfortunately, it is our oiled up musclehead, Sabin, at the end of Mount Zozo. So that's his 8th character. So that makes things a little interesting, Dwyer, because of the Kefka Tower skip.
Yes, it does. One more character, and they can skip straight to the statues at the end of Kefka's Tower. And with Sabin being a character right here, and the amount of checks that he has, the chances of that are pretty good.
Yeah, so Sabin has 5 different checks that we can go to. The Imperial Camp, where Kefka sets in motion, the plot to poison Doma. The Barren Falls location, where we jump off and fight a boss. Mount Colts, where we go and confront Vargas. The Phantom Train, where we go and take a walk, but we can see what the reward is in the caboose. And then in the World of Ruin, where you recruit him, where Taco Mage is going right now, the Collapsing House, because we can peek this reward. If there's a character holding up the house, we get skip. If not, then it could be an Esper or an item. So this brings up an interesting point, Dwyer. Even if you do get an Esper here, do you potentially go to one of Sabin's other checks to see if there is a 9th character in order to get your Kefka Tower skip?
Honestly, with some of his checks being relatively fast, I think I would.
Yeah, because you save around 5 to 7 minutes or so, and oh boy, we have a statue boss on the minecart trails. Who put that there?
That's just mean.
Yeah, so he's affectionately known as the Spicy Chicken, or Satan's Poultry, I think was another fun nickname that he's gotten over the years. Very difficult boss here for Drinks Glue, although with that Atma Weapon offering, cutting through his very high physical defense, I don't think this will be too big of an issue, but Poltergeist can do a lot of different things to your party, including Stop Blaster, AoE fire spells, and he counterattacks basically all the time. So unless you're ready for this fight, it is kind of a slog.
Absolutely. Now, if your characters weren't berserked, there would be a few ways to get through this. Polty can be stopped, so that can help. He is also weak to poison, surprisingly enough, not ice like you would think based on the color. So there are definitely ways to deal with him.
Yep, but sometimes swinging a lightsaber will do it there. So that's Poltergeist down, and that's a big chunk of XP there for Drinks Glue. And we get to see what the reward is at the end of the Magitech Factory. Meanwhile, Taco Mage has pulled through from the Collapsing House, so we'll see what this reward is here. 1 free fits, meanwhile, heading into the Magitech Factory with 7 characters and 8 Espers. So he just needs one more Esper to be in go mode, and he's going to get it after this check.
And Taco Mage just got his go mode, so we're going to see if he's going to take advantage of those Sabin checks for skip, or if he's just going to send it.
Oh no, a disaster here for Drinks Glue. We have the Frozen Chicken on the other side of the Magitech Factory escape here. And this boss normally would be a huge problem for a Berserk team, because the only thing that damages Tritok is fire, or defense ignoring weapons like the Atma weapon. So thankfully, we've got Setzer who can carry this particular fight here, because we probably don't have any fire magic on Realm. And that is go mode for 1 free fits as well with that Esper. So he only has 7 characters. However, he's got 21 checks, Dwyer. So he just needs one more check in order to get his skip. So he's going to do a real fast one here, and it doesn't matter what the reward is, because he's going to have his 22 check skip.
Absolutely. So depending on what Taco Mage sees here, we could have a double skip, and it's not a character, so he's going to reset out.
Yeah, you can see what the reward is at the end of the caboose. Unfortunately, Taco Mage did not get what he wanted. Meanwhile, Drinks Glue is at 6 characters, 8 espers, and 18 checks. So it looks like he's heading into South Figaro to get his cyan. So that'll be check number 19. And then depending upon where he goes, if he goes to Doma Siege, he'll get this esper, and it will be his go mode. And then he'll be at 20 checks. So he'll also have a decision to make about whether he wants to do 2 extra checks to skip a bunch of time in Kefka's Tower, or if he wants to just go in the normal way.
Did you happen to say what Taco Mage's checks were at?
Yeah, so Taco Mage is at 17 checks, so he's a little bit far away from getting the check skip. So for him, it would be way better for him to get that extra character here. And fits in go mode and skip mode first of our runners here.
Okay, so we have seen the Golem and the Fenrir espers, so we know that he has Calmness Protection. I also see there on the Odin that he just got, there is the Mute spell. So those are the 3 puzzle pieces for really being able to deal with Kefka.
Yeah, so he will likely be able to deal with some of Kefka with having Realm not be berserked. Because remember, we have to cast those spells. So otherwise, we're stuck with all of the things that Kefka has to offer. So as we're heading into Kefka's Tower, I believe we do have a new donation that came in. So Danny, you want to take over and read that one out?
Well, I was actually just writing to you in Discord because I know with everyone in Go mode, I wasn't sure if it's a good time to jump in, but we do have
always a good time.
a donation from Windfox for $64. It says, "The Lord and Lady deemed the number so. Not sure if there are any incentives or bid wars left, but if there are, they may decide where it goes." I'm not sure. I'll give that a look, and I'll talk to Fizzo, and we will see where that donation goes. Thank you to Windfox for that donation. And with that donation, just a few little numbers here. We are $145 away from our highest earning marathon ever. So we are very close to breaking that record, but we are also just $236 away from not only 6,000, which is huge, but that 6,000 means one more kid gets to go to summer camp, and that would be 12 kids that we'd be sending to summer camp. And I've already warned all of the admins and stuff in the background that if we can make it to 6 grand, I'm dragging all of them into the booth for the closing ceremonies, and I'm making them sing live on air. So if you want to listen to us all humiliate ourselves later tonight, 6 grand is how we do it. I'm just saying.
I'm glad that integrity can be bought.
For charity,
it's
sure can.
Like the $1 Million Man says, right? Everybody has a price.
For charity, we have no problems just making ourselves look silly around here.
Oh, man. All right, so One Free Fits is our first runner fighting some bosses in Kefka's Tower with Rexol. So this is a little different from the vanilla fight where Rexol will possess one of your characters. In Worlds Collide, that could be potentially devastating in Kefka's Tower because if Rexol possesses the only good character in your party, then you're kind of just stuck and you have to take a reset. So we eliminated the zinger part of Rexol's battle script. So you do have to fight him that way, and you unfortunately can't do it the vanilla speedrun way of just AoE killing everything on the screen just at once. So that it's a bit of a rough fight, but with Flare ignoring magic defense, that'll take care of it right away. Drinks Glue, meanwhile, is going to do his 2 more checks rather to get the Kefka Tower skip. He did the Toilet Atmos spot, as it's affectionately known, and then this last dragon will put him over the top here. How is Taco doing? So Taco found an Esper at the bottom of Barren Fall, so he's now at 10 Espers. And it looks like he just did another dragon, so he's at 19 checks. So he's got 3 more to go. So it looks like he's going to head into Kefka's Tower. Not sure if he's going to do the 3 checks in KT at the front before doing the statues at the back, and it looks like that's what he is going to do here, Julia.
All right. Sorry, I am I'm working on something for just a second.
Oh, no problem. So yeah, that's the skip for Drinks Glue there. That is the 22 checks for skip. So Taco Mage is probably going to take on the 2 dragons and the 1 Toilet Atlas spot in order to get his skip. And oh my goodness, we've got a statue boss at the Guardian spot, I think this is. So this is going to be a rough fight here for 1 free fits.
One more donation.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, so Muchman coming in with $100 saying, love FF6, Dancing Mad is a killer song. 50-50 split for the Axeman and the Hatchboy to start on their favorite outfits for Hollow Knight.
Nice.
Yeah, so Hollow Knight is going to close out the marathon here before the admins get to embarrass themselves. So it looks like there is an incentive on costumes for Hollow Knight, so get your votes in for that as well. And it looks like all of our runners are inside of Kefka's Tower now at the same time. So even though we took a long, winding, sinuous path to get here, everybody is fighting their last fights, and this is going to be a great race for the end of this run here.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm back now. I had to do a last-minute donation.
I was going to say, I see what our lovely CoCom over here was working on a second ago. With a donation of $25. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Throwing money at the screen is always a good excuse to say, you know what, Schwantz, take over for a second. We do have Fitz taking out, that was the second Kefka Tower boss. He just has 2 more to go in order to reach up and touch the Mad Clown himself here. Getting the ribbon in the validation chests before Niles and Frazier, the Cranes here. And this fight is not going to be too difficult here with this party, with that Atma weapon offering, just chopping out these mechanical beasts. Celeste, having access to the Magitech command, can use it for their weakness. One is weak to bolt, one is weak to one absorbs bolt rather, so you want to hit it with water if you can. But Locke also just hits things very hard and
I was going to say they're also weak to Atma offering. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so Flame Eater is our Inferno spot boss here for Taco Mage. So in order to get to the dragon on the right-hand side party, we do need to get through this spot first. And unfortunately, this is a boss that is not going to play nice with half of his offense, because I believe he's got Pearl Lances, and Flame Eater has resistance to anything that's not ice or water or wind, actually. So if you have one of those 3 elements, you can damage Flame Eater. If you don't, you're kind of stuck.
You know, I'm going to put my money on a Berserk Yeti.
Yeah, it's just a matter of hitting the right targets now. But thankfully, we've cleared out a couple of those balloons. And a big quad 9 hit from Drinks Glue to the middle. Don't run away from this fight, Glue. You got this, dog. And we got one last fight here for 1 free Fitz. And our last boss is a pushover. So we've fought all of our hard bosses. This one won't be a problem.
Nope. Narapa the Rappa has a low HP pool. And now, it does have Reflect. So you wouldn't be able to really cast a lot of single target magic spells on it. But honestly, it doesn't matter, because with offering fixed dice, that's no problem.
Yep. Wow. Okay, Setzer, calm down.
No, Setzer, keep it going.
It's like that Simpsons scene. You know, stop it. He's already dead. You don't need to throw more dice at him, Setzer. Just chill.
You know what? I believe that if you're going to do something, you do it 110%.
That was like 1,010% there with the ridiculous rolls that we got. All right, so we're going to put the Valiant Knife on, and it looks like 1 free Fitz is going to step up to the plate against Final Kefka. So, Dwyer, if you're in his position where you do have one character that's using a peace ring, what is sort of your strategy for Kefka here? I know normally we like to cast all different sorts of spells and abilities to mitigate some of Kefka, but we're not going to have access to that. So you're going to see a bit of a different Final Kefka than normal here on this to close out this run.
So unfortunately, this is where my newbiness to this is going to show a little bit. So I may not have the best strategy. However, we only have 1 peace ring and 3 characters berserk, so that means our damage is not going to go where we want it necessarily. So if that one character can cast float, that would be very helpful, because if you kill the face last, it's going to quake your party.
Yeah, that's a great shout out. I didn't even think about that. So with Kefka, there's a lot of moving parts, and there is an order of operations to this thing where you need to be able to kill certain parts at certain times of the fight. And we'll sort of go through it as we get there as to what a normal Kefka fight would look like, and then how far this goes off the rails with the fact that all of you awesomely donated for that auto berserk incentive there.
Absolutely. So here we have the tier 1. So the order of operations that you'd normally go for is to... so we have face up top, long arm over the long arm that you see, and then short arm, the one in the back. Now, long arm, as you see, is vulnerable to instant death, which was taken out. The face is weak to fire, and the short arm is surprisingly weak to water. Now, again, normally you'd take them out in those orders. With a berserked party, that's not necessarily going to happen, so we're going to pray to RNGesus that we get some good damage allocation.
Yeah, I got my prayer hands up in chat. I think we also have some fresh news. I'm seeing a rather large number in the middle of the screen here, Danny.
Yes, you are. We just got in another donation from a fantastic person who just donated $100. Moshba with the $46 saying, someone said 46 to break the record. In Twitch chat, I like breaking records when speedrunning. Between that and the doll was 25, not only did we break it, but we have surpassed our highest ever grossing marathon total. And we're not even done, but we're also only $65 away from $6,000. And I have a lot of panicked people in a planning channel right now that are like, oh no, now we have to sing. And so I'm trying to run and hide. So I think we're definitely gonna see, fingers crossed, $6,000 before the night's over. And then I'm gonna have a lot of people I might have to hide from tomorrow. But it's fine. It's for the kids.
Yeah, you're going to get a lot of people who suddenly have bronchitis.
I said admins, but really what I meant is just basically anyone on the committee planning. If you're working on it, I'll drag you in tonight. And I got a lot of, does that include me questions right now? So...
I think the way that you should look at it is, if you have to ask, then the answer is yes.
That's pretty much what I've told them.
Absolutely.
You basically just at here in the volunteer planning channel. It's like, if you're in this channel, you're coming with us.
Oh man.
I apologize to everyone's ears later.
Alright, so one free fix is just grabbing elixirs from each part of Final Kefka, so you can do that for both Tier 1 and Tier 2. All of the parts will have an elixir as a steal. We do see Realm with that mute spell that you mentioned earlier, Dwyer. That will nullify magic, one of the parts of this boss. And then we have instant death in the form of X Zone that will take out tools, which is another part of this boss. So now really we only have 2 things to worry about. That tiger head there, which is of the most concern, can do some nasty things like freezing your party or turning someone into a zombie, which would be awful. And then we have Hit, which, as the name says on the can, hits things and will death counter with 10 physical hits. And that's what we're seeing now. So Locke is unfortunately getting the brunt of most of this, but thankfully we do have a way to heal ourselves up. So Fitz is going to be fine here heading on to tier number 3 as soon as we take care of Tiger.
So
Takamage is walking backwards. I'm sorry. I was going to say he's walking backwards to take the other 2 checks here, this dragon and this other toilet atlas spot, in order to clear out Kefka to skip back to the statues. But go ahead.
So we were talking about tier 2 and you were talking about mute with magic. and I'm coming in late with this, but that's okay. Again, we have kind of an issue with allocating damage, so Tiger would normally be weak to ice if our party could cast it. And you would definitely want to save hit and magic for last just because of their death counters. Again, it doesn't matter at this point.
Yeah, because unfortunately, we don't have control over where we go. Now, this tier is going to be pretty difficult because we definitely want to have control over who dies first. So you want to explain Tier 3, Dwaya?
Absolutely. So Tier 3 has two parts. It has the girl in the back and sleep in the front. Girl is immune to all elements, or absorbs all elements, I should say, and can heal and, I believe, cast Life 3 on the other part, or is it Life 2? I don't
Life
remember.
2. Yeah, bring it right back.
Yeah, bring it right back. But she has very low HP. I believe it's 9,999. So she's very easy to kill with physical or non-elemental damage. Now, Sleep has 40,000 HP and does nasty things like what you're about to see here, Meteo and Burton. And once you get him to a certain HP point, he's going to start countering with Meteo or Train. And then, of course, you're going to see...
Yeti. The Yeti sacrifice.
Oh, True Knight Yeti sacrifice. He's going to counter with Calmness, which is an instant death physical attack. As you saw in this, Yeti with the True Knight relic took one for the team and is now taking a dirt nap.
Oh man, let's pour one out for Yeti in chat. While we wait for Kefka to appear, we have had a couple of donations, I believe, appear as well.
We have. I was waiting to see what was going to happen to the fight, but also try real hard not to cry. So, we have another donation from Mishka. I kind of want to hug right now because, boy, they've been killing it this weekend. $65, trying to make the donation amount a nice round number. And then another $65 donation from Psychic Shebang that says, let's just rip the band-aid off and get those voices limbered up, folks. These are some of my favorite dogs all duking it out up here. All of you do your best, go fast, use the Yeti, and don't get ultimate. Once and you're both pretty rad too. With those two donations, we broke 6,000. We are at 6,500. I'm trying real hard not to scream and say things that I can't say on air. I'm all excited over here.
Well, we'll keep it PG-13
freaking out in channels.
Don't scream too loud. You gotta make your singing voice heard later.
Exactly.
So One Free Fits is ripping through this Kefka fight here, and there it is, the flash.
There it is.
The crack, the pow. GG's to One Free Fits, finishing in first place there. 129.23. That's going to do it for Kefka. Down goes your clown here.
GG's Fits. That was a great run.
Yeah, the Valiant Knife offering, when Setzer got that very low HP from that Meteo, he's like, oh, it's about to go down now. He rolled up his sleeves a little bit, and he was doing 24,000 damage a turn. And most things will die rather quickly when you do that much damage to it.
Absolutely. And on Drake's Glue side, we're seeing him on Tier 2, really getting that damage in as well. So I don't think his run is going to be much longer either.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think his lock and his Yeti got frozen from Tiger. Like I mentioned, Tiger can do nasty things. However, Setzer, the true MVP of multiple teams, there with that lightsaber, just pumping out 17,000 damage on that one turn there to Magic, and he's heading up to Tier 3 as well.
And we've got One Free Fits with us. How you doing, Fitz?
Pretty good. Pretty good. That was a lot of fun. It was a good time.
Well, I can tell you it was a lot of fun to watch, too. Great run.
Yes, tell us a little bit about your strategy here with these flags that we've conjured up for you, where you do get the B-dash. It seems like you definitely wanted to do that early on, and you took a little bit longer, I think, than some of the rest of the runners with your looting and shopping phase, but you did just basically do scorched earth after that for the for the remainder of the run. So tell us a little bit about your strategy.
Yeah, that was kind of like the plan, was that I wanted to get my sprint shoes as fairly early so that the extra speed would pay off like as soon as possible. I wanted to accumulate a fair amount of stuff so that I could shop in the Coliseum, and there was quite a bit available that I found useful there, so I spent a bit of time there. It was really finding the early offering where I was like, okay, I'm done, and I decided to commit to like a 3 Berserker team for the rest of the scene. So it was just like, all right, Realm's gonna be the caster and she'll learn some stuff, but mostly it was just watching the mad angry team members hit stuff, and I wanted to take the Umaro all the way. I kind of decided at the beginning of the run, I was like, they're coming along. And like they made the most like heroic move, like they jumped in front of Setzer. They didn't need to, because Setzer had image, so they were actually fine. But it was still, I thought, an iconic moment of being like, no, Umaro,
get down, Mr. President. I'm fine, really.
That was definitely the climactic part in a movie moment right there, was the Yeti solidly taking one for the team.
So yeah, Drinks Glue is now on final. Kefka did get to steal the Mega Elixir from Kefka. I don't think he's going to have to use it, though. Oh, he will have to use it. Okay, never mind. We did not do enough damage to bypass Fallen 1 here. And you made quick work of this Kefka fight. We didn't even have time to explain it. So with, the offering that you found early on, did you sort of route in some more dragons in order to get some bigger and beefier weapons to swing away with?
Yeah, that was part of it. I think I found like a loose Super Ball, and then they were in the Coliseum as well. So I wanted to take some early to get my Berserk offense more powerful, and then the first one that I did gave the offering, and so it was like, yeah, let's do like a lot of dragons, and just because of a couple of non-progression checks, I felt like it was going to be pretty easy for me to get the skip, most likely, so I was just not turning any down along the way. Did run into Magimaster myself after I...
you cursed it this morning, for those of you that missed the early morning run, and that is Drinks Glue with the crack pow. GG's to him. Nice. 1:34.04 is his final time, so within 5 minutes of one another, you two were. So very, very tight races. Everybody got go mode around the same time. You just had a bit more checks under your belt than the rest of the runners, so your skip came out way earlier than our other 2 runners did.
Yeah, I was a little bummed not getting, because the Magimaster gave, that was like the South Figaro Cave, and it gave Atma Weapon, which I was like, I don't really need this, but then, and then I threw it on, and then, yeah, it was just, once that was kind of my overall, with a seed like this, where it's like, you can kind of get anything in the Coliseum most of the time. At least half the party is going to just be hitting stuff. I've just seen it. I think it was like Jexarox is one of the runners. Like, I've seen him approach it this way, where it's like, get everything at the beginning, like every single thing that we might need, and then don't really touch anything else, and just smash everything in front of us. And it was a lot of fun doing so, and having Berserk makes it a lot easier to not overthink or like fiddle around in combat too much, because it's just like, all right,
it's
I
also
built the
fast.
team, I trust them, get out there, do your thing.
It's also really fast too, right? Because the Berserk character will act as soon as their ATB fills up, so you don't even have to push a button. It's just like go, go, go. Do I have any other questions for Fitz while we have them here in the booth?
No, I just want to say, hey, thank you for running. Thank you for doing all this. And it was really fun to watch.
Nice. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go, and I appreciate y'all doing comms for the race and letting us in again. And I know I saw I looked at the number, and it seemed bigger than before we started. So that's good to see too. I feel like there's some more. I want to see it go up a bit more.
People are pretty passionate about the fate of Sid. Let me tell you, Fitz.
Nice.
Oh yes.
Nice.
But yeah, thank you for organizing the overnight relay for those of you that missed it, then that were in bed earlier. So really appreciate that as well.
Y'all have a wonderful evening.
All right, catch you later. We are joined also by Drinks Glue. So GG's Glue, you had a bit of a slog of it with bouncing off of Magimaster and doing a few other fun things. So tell us a little bit about your strategy here with the Auto Berserk feature active and some of the other different options that we laid out for us in this particular seed.
Well, the first and foremost, it was just find power. Snipers are good, but not great. So it was a little bit of a slog there at the beginning with the snipers, but slowly you find an Atmo weapon and Ragnarok, and the fixed dice were viable for a while, and business picks up eventually, especially as your level scales when all of your characters are doing physical action. So pretty fortunate to find that Atmo weapon, and then the offering and the chest. Probably nobody else went, so that was going my way when it, as opposed to stuff not going my way earlier on.
Yeah, there was also a Magimaster or rather an Atmo weapon behind Magimaster at South Figaro Cave. So he found a couple of lightsabers here throughout the seed as well. So you chose not to get these sprint shoes. Is there a particular rationale behind it? Do you not like going fast? What's going on here?
No, I like a medium pace. I'm more of a finish the middle
Adam Sandler
when it comes
there.
to running. Yeah. If you go too fast, you might pull a hamstring or something, and I don't want that.
Yeah, we do not need Yeti blowing out a leg there.
I'm glad that you were looking out for your team that way, Glue.
Yeah, absolutely, anytime.
Make sure you stretch, folks, before you do any exercise.
Okay, so I have to ask, because I think one of the most memorable parts for me on your run, which is unfortunate for you, was running into Doomgaze with killing off 3 of your 4 party members, and then Yeti taking the Doom to the face. What was your thoughts there? How'd you feel?
Well, I was 100% going to run back in and give it a rematch and give Yamaru the Paladin Shield, but I lost the momentum ring, the mental ring, so he wasn't going to be able to for sure survive everything. But with the Paladin Shield and the mental ring, he couldn't die in that fight. So I was going to let him go back in there and get his revenge, but unfortunately I forgot I had sold the mental ring, so I had to regroup and come back and then take care of business.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, so really good heads up, thinking of a strategy of how do I get through this that's, something that's a little bit more off the wall than normal there. When you did get your go mode finally, you only had 2 more checks in order to get skip. So you seem to think it was worth it in order to save time. So tell us a little bit about your thought process there.
It was really weird finding that 8th character. Because I needed 1 more Esper, and I was like, do I want to do Dome of Dream and Hedge? Because if you do Dome of Dream, that's 3 checks, you end up with skip no matter what. But you also miss 2 possible high tier items if one of the other, the single check is an Esper. Because if you single check as an Esper like it was, then you get 2 more high tier items in the tower that everybody can wear because of the 100% equip rate. So I almost hedged going to Dome of Dream, saying, you know what, this is statistically, almost no way I'm not walking out of here with an Esper. And I also will get my skip, but I missed those items. But I guess that's the more aggressive decision there, is to hope it's the 1 Esper, then you get your 2 items in the tower, which both turned out to be worthless, but, I'll take it.
So I asked this of Fitz in our earlier overnight marathon, so I'll ask you as we close it out here. What is one of the reasons why you enjoy playing Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide? What are your favorite aspects of the game?
1, there's no other game where you can watch it or play it and hear Schwantz's voice. So that alone is worth it to just hang around the community and join it. And, and whatnot. But I've been playing Final Fantasy VI for since 1994. Over the various decades, I would give myself various challenges. My favorite build is to have a double Tempest Cyan, and you just max that as magic power, and it's the highest damage DPS character you can have in the game, as long as they can't absorb wind. Whatever you're hitting can absorb wind, right? So I would like to do things like that, throughout the years, display, break things. And then that's kind of what you can do in Worlds Collide, but in a more condensed version. I don't have to spend 50 hours leveling up Cyan with the Experience Egg and the Magic Power West Esper to get that. You can kind of get that in Worlds Collide. And you can also play competitively, which is really cool if you take a game like Final Fantasy VI, where typically you're playing it alone or with over the shoulder, and instead you can actually play it against somebody, with somebody, and that's really, really cool to me.
All right, so checking in on Taco Mage here real quick. He has full Berserked Party into Final Kefka. His lock went down on tier 2. His Yeti just took a timer death, and
no!
Yeah, that's a backbreaker there, because the Setzer was the carry with the fixed dice offering. So this is probably going to be a reset for Taco Mage, unfortunately. Dwight, do you have any other questions for Glue before we get him out of here?
No, I sure don't. To be honest, my eyes have been on Taco Mage's screen watching him get through this. So I have been a little distracted, but Glue, I just want to say thank you for running. It was really fun to watch. I always enjoy watching you, of course. You're definitely one of the premier members of the community, always willing to help out. So you are much appreciated.
No, thank you guys. And yeah, so I before I sign off, one more thing about Worlds Collide is the best thing about Worlds Collide is the equipable Yamaro flag. You take a great character and you essentially make him immortal. And I hope you in the near future have a solo Yamaro challenge here on the summer marathon for FF1R.
Well, listen, if you build it, then let's have at it.
All right, thank you guys, and y'all have a good night.
All right, catch you later, Mr. Glue. Yeah, so the problem with this here is we only have there's a limit break from Strago. Unfortunately, the desperation attack, as they're called in Final Fantasy VI, for Strago and Realm are only fractional damage dealing, right? So they don't work on enemies that are immune to instant death. And Realm, despite the fact that you can't see it, is currently blinded by that train. And we did fix the evade bug in Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide. So the evade stat does actually work. That means the status of dark or blind does actually matter. And unfortunately, Taco Mage finds out the hard way that it's really tough to take a full Berserk party into Final Kefka. So let's hear some of his thoughts on a Taco Mage coming in. Congratulations on making your way through that seed. GG's, my friend.
Yeah, that was all going to come down to whether or not Setzer survived, and unfortunately, Tier 3 was really kind of brutal. With the double calmness, and of course, the condemned on Umaro, that was pretty much the worst or second worst combination that it could have pulled off.
Yeah, that was really rough to watch.
Oh, yeah.
My heart went out to you.
Yeah, I mean, last time I did this, I beat Glue, so I felt good about that. So I was smack talking him a bit. So I guess I just had to eat my lunch there.
Yep, you always get the better of your opponent until you don't, right? Like that's how Worlds Collide is. It's like any given race day is what they say, right?
Yeah, and that seed really just did not want to give us anything unless somebody went a different way and found good stuff. That there was the itemization in that seed was just awful. I was rocking pearl lances until right near the end where I found man eaters, and that's a slight upgrade just for Final Kefka.
Yeah, there were Fitz found a Valiant knife somewhere with the offering, so maybe that was a Coliseum thing that he got. We did have an weapon behind that Magi Master fight, so that was another thing you can use. And then some of the dragons, I think one of them dropped some good things. Drinks Glue actually picked the Ragnarok over the Esper from the weapon shop, so that also is a possibility that I think both you and Fitz picked the Esper, but he picked the Ragnarok. So interesting choice there as well.
Yeah, kind of retrospectively, once I hit my 10th Esper, I was like, I really should have taken that rag. But I'm always of the opinion that the seed will provide, and this time it just really didn't.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. Sometimes everything is in the shops and in the chests for you, and then other times you just have to go do things, and the seed will give it to you. And you never know, obviously, until the seed's over. Was it a hey, you should have checked more shops, or was it hey, you should have just went and did checks, kind of thing? So.
Yeah, and I didn't have a lot of dragons left to do, and all of them, except for that very last one that it didn't drop really anything useful until I got the EXP egg right from the final dragon in KT.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about how you approach this particular seed. I know that you did go and get the shoes in order to run around a little bit there. Tell us a little bit about your strategy for this type of seed with the objectives that we've got here.
Well, in this case, it's maybe a little different than I might run it if I was like racing for some sort of tournament, because I did want to show off doing Zozo and getting the sprint shoes with what is that, checkpoint. So I made a point to do that if just to show it off. But otherwise, it was for an all berserk. It really just comes down to a weapon hunt. You need to get some sort of weapon to get going. And for me, it was one R Lance and a couple of Pearl Lances, and then I found Minervas in the Colosseum. So that's the other half: is you want weapons and you want some sort of elemental protection to get you through the early portions of the seed, and then you kind of have to move towards kind of a hybrid of elemental protection and high defense, so that you can survive all the really nasty physical attacks in the tower or in the final Kafka fight. And then at the very end, you need something to get past tier 3 and into final Kafka, the final tier 4, and generally an offering with something is what you need. And I had fixed dice offering, and that was really it. And that's not necessarily the thing you want to rock with all rage. Generally, like I said, finding the VK is huge. If I picked up the rag, that would have been good. Atma weapons are great. So
Dwight, any other questions before we get our next game going in the marathon here?
I'm going to kind of copy your question that you asked Glue. What's your favorite thing about playing Worlds Collide and doing things like this?
Honestly, the variety, and it comes down to the objective system. And I've said this in many of these interviews before. The objective system in Worlds Collide is second to none in any randomizer that I've played or even watched. It gives people who are into creating cool seeds and cool experiences within the randomizer a lot of creative latitude to do that. It just opens up the possibilities a lot. So I mean, there's just so many things you can do with it, and so many different ways you can take it. Like you can make Kefka unlock just about anything in the game, rather than just be the standard racing flag set. And I think that gives it a lot of replayability that sometimes in some other randomizers that I've played you don't have as much. And I think that really makes it for me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Taco Mage, for not only racing tonight, but also this morning in the relay block. So really appreciate you helping us out here, and we'll catch you next time.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Thank you.
So, want to thank you, Dwyer, for doing commentary with me here in the booth. Also, want to thank Danny and Lord Fizzlebeef for doing the fun buttons behind the scenes and for calling out the donations and hosting and broadcasting, and the Final Fantasy randomizer community for allowing us to showcase our awesome game for this great cause. So thank you so much to everyone here.
Yeah, thank you to you all too. Like I said before, not just with this run and some of the other ones this marathon, but across all our marathons, like the Worlds Collide community always submits and shows up big and helps raise a ton of money. So we love y'all's community. We are incredibly appreciative of all the work that honestly that goes into like your runs and stuff that you guys come and do. So thank you so much for being a part of our little marathons. We thoroughly enjoy having y'all here.
Well, thank you so much for putting these things on. And honestly, for the future, I can't wait to be a part of it again.
Yay! 6 months summer marathon. Woo! All right, with that, we are going to start getting ready for our next run. It'll be our last run of the night, but it's a big one. It's a huge one. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be the Axeman and the Hatchet Boy doing a father-son co-op Hollow Knight randomizer run. We're going to go get set up for that. So stick around, and we'll be back shortly.
All right. Well, you all have a great night. And thanks again.